In book club, we're reading Huckleberry Finn
by Mark Twain.
And we're at the part where Huckleberry Finn and Jim,
Miss Watson's slave,
they met each other on an island, but where we are is we're in the part where Huckleberry Finn and Jim are trying to get to the turnoff to free state for Jim.
Yeah, so then he doesn't really have to be a slave anymore.
But they missed that turnoff and they're going down the river to the bad slaves.
Yeah, the bad slaves.
And they are just floating along and two men come along. And they are kind of doing illegal things. Like one of the men is said
he's selling toothpaste that doesn't work and like it makes people's teeth rot.
And one of them sells like whiskey or illegal drink to children and all sorts of people. So the two men come along the raft, and the young man says he's a duke, and the other man's kind of uncomfortable because the duke's getting all the attention, and and Jim and Huck are calling him Your Grace and stuff.
And then if the other guy says that he is a
Dauphin, which is a king, basically. So then he gets more attention than the duke.
Because a Dauphin is higher up than a duke.
Yeah, and then the duke's kind of sour, and then they just kind of, then the Dauphin says, there's no use to being sour, so it's not your fault. You're born being the duke or the Dauphin.
And then Huck sort of figures out that they're lying.
Because if they don't like their life and they're dressed in this not very nice, in rags, and he figures out that they're lying because they don't like their life. And so if they're really that, they would be living in some palace or something.
Yeah, some palace.
So why doesn't Huck tell them that he knows they're liars?
Because they might get angry.
And then it just start a fight, and like they might stop.
And then Jim might get mad and say they're liars.
And then they might like start pushing each other off the raft.
Which would be bad.
Yes.
And I think they like treating them like a duke or a Dauphin. And they're finally just like making up for someone trying to be higher than the others. And he doesn't want to tell Jim because
Jim might say
here.
Yeah, does Jim know that they're lying?
No, because and then he says, I'll keep it to myself, it's the best way, then you don't have no quarrels and you don't get into no trouble. If they wanted to call them the kings and dukes, I hadn't no objections. Long it would keep peace in the family, and it weren't no use to tell Jim, so I didn't tell him. If I ever learned nothing else about Pap is
Huck's dad.
And he's always getting drunk, and he's mean to
cussing.
Huck. Yeah.
Okay, if you were Huck and you were on the raft, would you do it differently? How would you act?
I wouldn't tell either, because then it just start people getting
kind of
pushed off
and
messing up.
I think it's easier just to have their way, because then they wouldn't have to worry about stuff.
And
the Duke and the Dauphin might be a free pass for Jim and Huck to go back, because they can just tell them, I demand you to let them go by because I'm the Duke or the Dauphin.
Yeah.
So they can be.
So then they can go into the free states, and Jim can.
And Duke and the Dauphin might be their guards or something.
That's a cool prediction. Okay.